Have you heard of the mysterious lost Dead Sea Scrolls? It's said that they are an ancient collection of texts found in the caves near the Dead Sea, dating back to the 3rd century BC. These scrolls have provided an invaluable insight into the history of Judaism and early Christianity. But there's one particular scroll that has stood out among the rest for all the wrong reasons. It's known as the Copper Scroll, and it's unlike any other artifact ever found at the site. What makes this mysterious scroll so different from the rest? And what's so intriguing about it? Join us today as we delve deep into the Copper Scroll and the secrets it holds. You won't want to miss this. The Copper Scroll is unique because unlike the other Dead Sea Scrolls, which were written on papyrus and leather, this particular scroll was written on a thin sheet of copper. But that's not the only thing that makes the Copper Scroll stand out. What really sparked interest in this scroll was its contents. It is believed that the Copper Scroll contains a list of treasures hidden by the Jewish sect known as the Essenes before their destruction by the Roman army in 70 AD, according to legend. The Essenes were a group of Jewish religious extremists who lived in the caves near the Dead Sea, and they stashed away vast amounts of gold, silver, and jewels before their demise. The Copper Scroll is said to hold the key to finding these lost treasures. This is where our story begins. Imagine being a world-renowned scholar with a fascination for history and archaeology. You've dedicated your life to studying ancient artifacts and uncovering the mysteries of the past. Now picture yourself stumbling upon a mysterious scroll that could rewrite history itself. That's exactly what happened to a British scholar named John Allegro in the 1960s. John Allegro was a brilliant archaeologist and biblical scholar who had dedicated his life to understanding the origins of Christianity. He had already made a name for himself in the field and was considered a leading expert on the Dead Sea Scrolls. So when he learned about the Copper Scroll, he knew he had to investigate further. However, when he first laid eyes on the Copper Scroll, he was puzzled. It was unlike anything he had seen before. The writing was faded and almost impossible to read. But something about the scroll called to him, and he knew that he had to try and decipher it. Despite the skepticism of his colleagues, Allegro pressed on. He spent countless hours examining the scroll, trying to make sense of the faded writing. He pored over ancient texts and consulted with other experts, but no one could help him unlock the secrets of the Copper Scroll. As time went on, Allegro became more and more convinced that the Copper Scroll was real and that it contained valuable information about the lost treasures of the Essenes. However, he knew that in order to prove his theory, he needed to find a way to decode the scroll. And so he continued his research, determined to crack the case. And then, finally, after years of hard work and dedication, he did it. He was the first person in nearly 2,000 years to reveal the ancient text of the Copper Scroll. It was a groundbreaking moment, and one that would change the course of history forever. But as exciting as this discovery was, it also came with a lot of challenges. As soon as news broke that Allegro had decoded the scroll, he was bombarded with questions from historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters alike. Everyone wanted to know what the Copper Scroll said and where the lost treasures of the Essenes could be found. Allegro was hesitant to share his findings with just anyone. He knew that if the treasure did exist, it would be worth millions of dollars, and he didn't want to start a treasure hunt that could end up in a disaster. Despite the pressure, Allegro eventually agreed to share his findings with a small group of trusted colleagues. They gathered in a secret location to examine the scroll and discuss its meaning. The atmosphere was tense as they realized the weight of what they were dealing with. If the Copper Scroll was real, it could change everything they thought they knew about the history of the region. As they pored over the ancient text, they began to piece together the puzzle. The Copper Scroll wasn't just a list of coordinates to hidden treasure. It was a complex code that required a key to unlock its secrets. They worked tirelessly, days turning into weeks, as they tried to figure out the key to the code. They examined ancient texts and historical records, looking for anything that could help them understand the meaning behind the cryptic symbols and numbers on the scroll. Finally, after weeks of hard work, they cracked the code. But what they found was not what they expected. The Copper Scroll didn't lead to any hidden treasure or secret tombs. Instead, it seemed to be a list of rules and regulations for a secret society, possibly the Essenes. The discovery was a major breakthrough and shed new light on the history of the region. But it also left everyone with more questions than answers. Why would a secret society need a list of rules and regulations written on a Copper Scroll? And why hide it in a cave near the Dead Sea? As the team continued to investigate, they uncovered more and more evidence that pointed to the copper scroll being a genuine artifact from the past. The writing style and the type of copper used matched other artifacts from the same time period, and the content of the scroll, while mysterious, was consistent with the beliefs and practices of the ancients. Despite the evidence, some scholars still doubted the authenticity of the scroll. They argued that it was too sensational to be true, and that Allegro had made it all up. But Allegro was confident in his discovery and continued to defend it against the skeptics. He knew that he had uncovered something truly special, and he was determined to prove it to the world. However, there was still one piece of the puzzle that didn't quite fit: the actual content of the scroll. It was clear that the list of rules and regulations was written in a code, and that the key to unlocking it lay somewhere in the ancient texts. After months of searching, Allegro and his team finally found it. They discovered that the key to the code was a set of ancient Hebrew poems known as the Song of Songs. When they applied the code to the copper scroll, it revealed a shocking message. The scroll was not a list of rules and regulations after all, but a map to hidden treasure. According to the message, the treasure was hidden near a place called the Sinkhole, an area that had been explored many times before. With the map in hand, Allegro and his team set off to find the treasure. They searched for days, but despite their best efforts, they couldn't find anything. Just when they were about to give up, Allegro noticed something strange. The ground in front of him seemed to be slightly disturbed, as if something had been buried there recently. He brushed away the dirt and uncovered a small metal box. With trembling hands, he opened the box and found a pile of ancient coins. It was the treasure mentioned in the copper scroll, but it wasn't what they were expecting. The coins were old, but they weren't the type of treasure that the Essenes would have owned. In fact, they were the coins of a Roman emperor who ruled over the region at the time of the destruction of the Second Temple of Jerusalem. So what did this mean for the copper scroll? Had they been on the wrong track the entire time? As they continued to investigate, they uncovered more and more evidence that pointed to the copper scroll being a forgery. The ink used to write the scroll was too modern, and the type of copper used was not available in the region during the time period that it was supposed to have been written. Despite the evidence, Allegro refused to give up. He believed that the copper scroll was real, and that the treasure was still out there waiting to be found. He continued to search for answers, poring over ancient texts and consulting with other experts. But as time went on, the truth became clear. The copper scroll was not a genuine artifact from the past. It was a clever forgery created in the 20th century. Devastated by the discovery, Allegro and his team returned the fake copper scroll to the authorities. They had been fooled, and the mystery of the lost treasure remained unsolved. But despite the disappointment, Allegro's journey had not been in vain. His determination to uncover the truth had led him to make some incredible discoveries and had changed the way we understand the history of the region forever. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more exciting adventures. And if you think you can solve the mystery of the copper scroll, leave a comment below with your thoughts. Who knows, you might just be the next great archaeologist.